on digital radio, on the app, on your smartphone, on X, YouTube, and Facebook. The Sportscast. Expect the unexpected.
The Jersey Boys Sports Talk presented by The Sportscast.
The Jersey Boys Sports Talk with Victor Arocho and Byron Jones. And here's your host, Victor Arocho.
Alrighty, let's get it on. Let's get on. We got an exciting show today with a special guest. Excited to get going. Welcome to the Jersey Boys Sports Talk live out of Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Lancaster, Pennsylvania. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the Sportscast on all our channels: YouTube, X, Spotify, iTunes, and also we're on your favorite podcast streaming service. Just look up the Jersey Boys Sports Talk. Please leave a review and a rating. It'll help us out tremendously. Don't forget, if you like what you hear today, smash the YouTube, the like button, hit the notifications. You hear our future shows and go back to our past shows. All right, let's get it on. We got a lot to talk about. We got a special guest, Mr. Byron Jones. How you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. Everything's all good in the hood.
You sound so excited. I'm a little under the weather, man.
Yeah, I'm just. Okay.
You just what?
No, because it was out there, man. It was pouring down, raining out there. The field was soaking wet. You got 10, 11-year-old kids that want to slide through the mud and slide in the water. So, yeah, it was interesting.
You sound a little bit more perturbed than normal. All right, well, let's get to it. I'm very excited to have our next guest come on. Let's bring him to the show. Let me get my little piece that I had for him. I have it here. All righty. Mr. Gary Myers, welcome to the show, to the Jersey Boys Sports Talk. How are you today?
I'm doing good, guys. How you doing?
We're doing fantastic.
Great,
a little bit about Gary. Gary is the author of. He's a longtime NFL insider who's written 7 books, including New York Times bestselling Brady vs. Manning or V Manning, and most recently Once a Giant. He's covered the NFL for over 40 years. Gary Myers is one of the most respected voices in sports journalism. Gary is a New York Times bestselling author and a veteran NFL insider. Welcome to the show, Gary. We were very excited to have you on. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Oh, awesome. And I hear you're a Giant fan.
No,
That's even better.
I've written about the Giants. I'm not a fan of any NFL team. Once I went into this profession, you have to put any allegiance aside. You have to be totally objective. I'm still a big Mets fan because I've never covered baseball, but I'm honest. People don't believe me, but I'm completely indifferent when it comes to who wins and who loses in NFL games. You just can't have that allegiance or passion for a team if you want to write about this objectively.
I could see that. But, Stephen A. Smith, for example, he's known to be a Steeler fan. So have things changed over time?
Well, I mean, Stephen A. is kind of his own guy, I guess. Yeah. And he is a journalist. I used to work with him at the Daily News in New York, 30 years ago. I think when you're on TV, the lines are a little more blurred. If you're covering a team on a day-to-day basis, which he is not doing now, I think you can, I think the people who watch him on TV like that he's a big Knicks fan. I didn't know he was a Steelers fan. I know he hates the Cowboys and has a good time, putting the Cowboys down and making fun of them. But I don't do that kind of stuff. Just in baseball, I don't, say anything negative about other teams. I'm just always kind of pumping up the Mets, which has kind of been a futile thing the last 40 years.
That makes sense. And he's not as passionate either, but, like Greenberg, I met him at the airport. He's super nice. Greeny.
He's a big Jets fan.
He's a big Jets fan. But the one thing you'll find with Byron and I is we are diehard Giants fans, right? So this show is all about NFC East. and then we go around the league depending on who comes on our show, right? So like if you were a Pirate, a Steelers fan, we'd go through NFC East, then we talk about the Steelers. If you were a Dolphin fan, we do our thing, then we talk about the Dolphins. We're always respectful who's coming on the show.
Sure.
But what Byron and I found interesting is that we're really objective. So I've been guests on other shows, and they're asking me who I'm predicting to win if they're playing against the Giants. And I don't think the Giants are going to win, I'm going to predict the team that I think is the better team, right? I mean, I'm not, I'm a diehard fan, but I'm a sports person first, right? Like I have objectivity. I'm still a believer that of the Super Bowls that we won, and you wrote one, Brady versus Manning, right? We weren't the better team, but that day we were.
Sure.
Right. So I'm going to take the trophy. There's no problem. But I'm admitting. In fact, I think 4 of them, we weren't the better team. We had wide right for Buffalo a couple times, So we'll objectively say that, as opposed to other fans have a tendency to be so gung-ho about their team and stick it in your face. And I'll take the win. You know what I mean? Just not confuse it. But I'm not going to stick it in your face that we were that better of a team. My biggest problem that I am happy that we won the undefeated Patriots team, right? But I'll be honest with you, I would have liked to seen Randy Moss get a ring. Because I like Randy Moss. That's the only downside to that season, right? Was Randy Moss. Okay, Byron, what?
Nah, man. Forget Randy Moss, man. I was happy we got it. You know what? He's in the Hall of Fame, and that's it. As far as letting him have that ring,
he doesn't have a ring. Not. As long as it's not against us, I wish he would have a ring. I like the guy. That's funny. So anyhow, we got
everybody won a ring playing with Tom Brady except for Randy Moss.
Except for Randy Moss, even Bledsoe.
That's right.
Bledsoe got a ring.
That's right.
He took his position. So Randy, when they did a roast on Tom Brady, he was talking about that. He was like, what's going on? How can I be only having things? So tell us about what's your newest book you have coming out.
Yeah, it's called Brady versus Belichick: The Dynasty Debate, and it really focuses on the 20-year dynasty and figuring out who deserves the majority of the credit for the 20 years. Nothing they did separately factored into the discussion of my book. So what happened after Belichick and Brady split up in 2020 and Tom wins the Super Bowl in Tampa and Bill struggled for 4 years in New England, I didn't count that, just like I didn't factor in what Belichick did in Cleveland. To me, the argument is really what they did together and how do you figure out who deserves the most credit. And I really think they had two dynasties, two 10-year dynasties, and they won 3 championships in each of those 10 years. And I think the first half of it was predominantly Belichick, till about 2007, the year you referred to before, Victor, when they almost went undefeated except for David Tyree's helmet. And I think the first maybe 2 of those Super Bowls or 2 of the first 3 Super Bowls you can attribute to Belichick. But then the second half of the dynasty, I would definitely say was very Brady-centric. And so overall, I would give it the majority of the credit to Brady, and I think most people would. And then the issue really is dividing up the percentage. Do you think it's 60-40 Brady, 70-30, 80-20, 55-45, 52-48? I mean, that's where the fun part comes in, is because it's a very subjective discussion and there's no right or wrong answer. Everybody's entitled to their opinion and nobody's really wrong. So I try to kind of dive into that from every angle you can think of.
Which is interesting that you said that, like, nobody's either right or wrong, which is what I was telling you before, we started the show in our pre-show discussion was, sport. I always learn sport is the art of debate, right? There's no right or wrong. So, enjoy the game. I like the competition. I like having fun with another team. I like having fun in the NFC East, which I'm getting into my experience this weekend. But Byron, what are your thoughts on the Brady Belichick debate?
No, I I've always liked, I've always been a Belichick guy, from when time when he was at Giants and stuff. I've always, liked him even back then. I wanted him to be, our head coach, at one time, but for whatever reason, it never worked out. And then, when he got, with New England, the things that he did there, as far, like the first, to me, my opinion, that it just seemed like, the defense was his main focus, and the defense won him, some of those championships, those championships
Absolutely.
at the beginning. But then, his genius, Belichick, that he evolved and became more like an offensive coach when Brady, like had complete command, of the offense, and the weapons, and he used everything. And and it's like it's like a 50-50. They won with defense at the beginning, and then the second half of the 10 years that they won with offense. And I would have to give 50-50 as far as the whole Brady Belichick dynasty.
See, I understand that, Byron, but see, if I came to the conclusion at the end of my book after asking people to read 300 pages and say, I'm going to split it right down the middle, they say, come on, take a stand. So, and I did feel strongly about it anyhow, so I didn't force the issue in taking a stand. But listen, they couldn't have done it without each other. I think everybody would agree.
No doubt.
Because who knows what would have happened to Brady if Belichick didn't draft him and he kept him as a four-string quarterback as a rookie. And then
what about if Bledsoe didn't get hurt?
Well, exactly. Well, I think that Belichick was not a Bledsoe guy. So that was just a matter of time before he switched to Brady. It happened earlier than anticipated.
He was a sixth-round pick. It wasn't like he was a high pick.
Right. But this was his second year when Bledsoe got hurt. By that time, Belichick really felt he had seen something in Brady to make him think that he was going to be something special. But was he going to switch the second game of the season when Bledsoe got hurt? Probably not. But it could have happened the 5th or 6th week of the season if New England was, 1-5 or 2-4. So it was just a matter of time before he made the change. But there's no question that without Belichick, we might never have heard of Tom Brady in the NFL. He might have gone to, you name the team, Seattle, the Raiders, Buffalo, Kansas City, Cleveland, and he might never got out of training camp. And then, what happens after that? Does another team give him a chance? He wound up in the right spot at the right time. And at the same time, he made Belichick's career. What would have happened to Belichick without Brady? He might have gotten fired after the 0-1 season. He was telling people he thought he was going to get fired if they didn't turn it around in his second year in New England. So this is really a classic case where they very much needed each other. But, all that being said, at the end of 20 years, to me, there was one of the two was more responsible for the overall success over the 20-year period, that resulted in 9 Super Bowl appearances and 6 championships.
Well, I'm going to tell, obviously, like I said, you're in this show right here, you're the resident expert, right? You've been covering it for 40 years. So, it's not about whether I think you're right or wrong. I'm just going to give you my side. Is that fair?
Absolutely.
My opinion.
As I said to Byron before, is that there's no right or wrong.
Exactly.
And the fun thing is that everybody has an opinion.
Exactly. So the way I look at it, when I went back, because my son would always argue, they always had great defenses. In the times that they won, their defense was usually ranked up high, but so was their offense. That's number one. I'm going to give my overall picture, so I'm not going to pick one or the other, because I think you're 1,000% correct. That dynasty wouldn't have happened without the two of them together. But football is a game. Well, I love it more than any other sport. It's the best team that day. Right. There's no best out of 7. There's no, let me come back from down 3-1. Let me rest my player today because, we got till tomorrow. No, you got to be the best that day. It's why it's called Any Given Sunday. Right. So, but the way I looked at it is, one, I became extremely, Byron and Santiago makes fun of me a little bit, when Brady went to Tampa. That's when I became like a super Brady fan, right? Because now I wanted to see him do something, right? Like now, you got rid of me after all I did, and you did that to me. Like then I became a hyper Brady fan. But I was always respectful of the Patriots organization, and I leveraged that in business. right? Because it was a unit, right? And in any sport, right? When you win the championship, the receptionist gets a ring, the admin, anyone part of the organization gets a ring. And business should be the same way. Your Super Bowl is whatever your business plan says you need to achieve and profit margin by the end of the year. That should be your Super Bowl, and everybody should be able to share in the rewards of that, right? But the one thing I liked about my examples about the Patriots organization was, how they would, there was a time, I don't know, it changed later, and correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding is Belichick only liked having guys that had degrees on his team, right? He also liked having really intelligent players. They also had a playbook that was double the size of most of the NFL, right? So that's a coach there, right? Then that it's a player, because Brady has to know that playbook, and that's why I see that other than Randy Moss and then defensive players, some of them had a trouble adjusting to that team, because like if you weren't sped up on the playbook, you had a hard time. Ocho Cinco, all these other guys. Look at Deion Branch was an MVP of a Super Bowl. You didn't hear of him anymore until he came back and really didn't do anything else, right? So what I appreciated with them is how they worked as a holistic team, the way football should be played. He rejuvenated other players' careers by coming over there, right? And that's what I respected about the organization as a whole. And then the last piece I'll say is that you can't win with, where the Brady factor comes into play is his work ethic, right? Is his energy that he gives the boost to the team. Because Belichick's more quiet. There was a young man in Tampa that said he went to go to the film room at 5 a.m. He walks in and Brady's watching film. And Brady goes, "Hey, how you doing?" Shakes his hand. He goes, "Look, this guy can't outwork me." No different than Kobe Bryant. No different than Michael Jordan had the Breakfast Club, right? But those guys may not have won without Phil Jackson either, right? You need both combinations together. So, the percentage for me, was just happy to see, what he did in Tampa. But over there, I'd say it's, 50, 60-40 Brady Belichick, because the quarterback is either, there's silent quarterbacks and then there's vocal quarterbacks. But Brady was a vocal quarterback, and he really, Byron, you had said this one time, right? He knew the bonuses and stuff that every player on his team would get. And if he knew they were close, either running the ball or throwing them a touchdown and so forth, Brady made sure that happened, right? And that's a special kind of individual to be able to play that game with huge men coming running after you. So I'll leave it with that. Byron?
Yeah, I was just going to say it was a situation with Gronk in Tampa, and I can't remember whether it was touchdown catches or just
one more touchdown for $1 million.
Yeah, so he made sure he got the ball to Gronk that he can score. Yeah, I remember that. As far Bill always, and I'll defer to Byron on this, but Bill always did want smart players. Whether he required the players to have a degree in order to get on his team, I honestly have never heard that one before.
I may be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know what percentage of players that, because a lot of them come out after 3 years now, and it's always a great story, and they go back and get their degree. But I would have to imagine a lot of the players, come into the NFL and don't yet have their degree. Especially the ones that are leaving after 3 years.
But he wanted smart players.
Well, every coach wants smart players.
Yeah.
The thing is that, every coach would also like, outstanding citizens, but, they're not running, you can't have a bunch of choir boys either, because then you'd have about 30 players on your team instead of 53. But you do try to vet them out and make sure, you're not getting any guys who have really bad issues. But, it's impossible to put together a roster of 50 guys and think, if you have a daughter, you'd like your daughter to marry any of those guys. It doesn't work like that. But you need the leadership of the team to kind of set the tone in the locker room, and guys who are stepping out of line. You need the players. it's much better. And Byron, you would notice as a former player, you need the players to police the locker room. It's much more effective than if the coach is having to do it.
Yeah, because it seemed like with the Parcells had like that group of guys that he could go to, you know, if he needed, you know, something straight out. Coughlin, same thing. He probably, you know, he had that group of guys that, you know, he could go to as far as, you know, we're practicing hard, we're doing this, we're doing whatever. And I'm gonna throw another name in there, maybe Saban, you know, probably had the same thing, you know, at Alabama. You know, as far as you know, a group of, you know, juniors or seniors, you know, his guys where he could go to where, hey, you know, you need to straighten out. And I just always see, you know, it just seems like this is my question here. I know, well, the thing I read that it's like Saban and not Saban and Belichick were, you know, really close, you know, as far as, you know, being, I think Croatia, yeah, and you know, Saban has what you call the progress, not the progress, what is the process, you know, as far as the way he wanted things done. Is, you know, what Belichick did, is that like the same thing, kind of, sort of, you know, along the same lines as what Saban, you know, since those guys were too, you know, so close?
Well, you know, if you remember, you know, Saban worked for Belichick in Cleveland, and that's where they became, you know, very close friends. And they are very similar. It appears to me that Nick has a little bit more personality than Bill, but I think they ran the same type of programs. And you know, one of the reasons I'm surprised that Mac Jones didn't work out in New England is because, you know, Saban is the one who coached him in Alabama, and you know that Belichick was relying so much on Saban on whether to draft him or not, and Belichick and Mac Jones just didn't get along, and that really surprised me that he came from, you know, the program in Alabama with Saban and just didn't transition well to New England, where it was pretty much the same kind of a coach. But I think you're spot on there that, you know, Belichick and Saban are very, very similar. And, you know, they exchanged ideas in the off season. And, you know, the other guy that, you know, Parcells had his guys, and you say Belichick had his guys, and Saban had his guys. The coach who most resembles Parcells to me, out of all the assistants that ever worked for him, is Sean Payton. Sean is the one that Bill was his real mentor. And there's so much in the way Sean runs his team and the way he handles his players that he got right from Parcells. So many of the expressions that Peyton uses in dealing with the media and dealing with his players, right from the book of Parcells, and which is not a bad thing. It's just he was really, really influenced by Parcells. And Parcells was the first guy that you ever heard of that he had his guys in the locker room, Harry Carson and Jim Burton, Phil Simms, George Martin. That was Parcells' inner circle. And so if they had a bad practice, or they were just in a rut, or if he noticed the energy level on the team wasn't what it should be, he'd go to Harry and he'd just go, Harry, fix it. You fix it. You're the captain. You fix it. And he'd say the same thing to George Martin. And because those guys were so respected by their teammates in the locker room, and because Bill had such a great relationship with those players, I mean, those were his inner circle guys. So he would get the message to his players through his inner circle, and it worked. Obviously, I mean, Bill had tremendous success as the Giants head coach for 8 years.
You know, it's funny that you said that. I was surprised also that Mac Jones didn't work out, because Mac Jones was very cerebral, right?
Yeah.
He was very intelligent. He had his master's by the time he got out of Alabama in 3 years. So I thought that was the best pick they could ever have had, right? So I was very surprised that didn't work out. And he's actually performing pretty well with the 49ers, right?
It's funny the way the league works now that sometimes these high first-round picks, and I think Mac was 15th, but, you know, Baker Mayfield was first, Sam Darnold was third, Daniel Jones was sixth. They bounce around a little bit after things don't work out with their first team. And, you know, that just emphasizes the point that it's situations sometimes that dictate whether a guy's going to be successful or not. Now, Mayfield has improved, and Daniel Jones has certainly improved, and so has Sam Darnold. But if you trace their history after they didn't have the success they wanted the first time around, Baker Mayfield spent half season with Sean McVay with the Rams, and Sean's one of the best coaches with quarterbacks. Sam Darnold spent a season backing up Brock Purdy in San Francisco, and Kyle Shanahan is terrific with quarterbacks. And Daniel Jones spent the second half of last season in Minneapolis, and although he didn't get into a game with the Vikings, he was around Kevin O'Connell for that half a season and around Sam Darnold to see how he adapted to working with Kevin after he had worked with Kyle Shanahan the year before. So I really think that that helped Daniel Jones now in his third stop in Indianapolis. I mean, he's in the running for MVP.
He should be undefeated if that receiver didn't try to play pretty boy.
That's right.
He should be undefeated. Number one. Number two, Byron and I talked about that. Like, I wanted to see Daniel Jones play a game in Vikings, because while Daniel Jones was with the Giants, there was a time he had the highest percentage of downfield passes, right? Long passes. It just wasn't good in the red zone with us. But one of the reasons I was happy that he went to the Vikings when Sam Darnold started excelling, it was like maybe there's a chance he could see how do you handle from coming from a number one pick to just having a dismal career and then going and have a resurgence, right? And now he sees that there's hope for him. And I'm also of the opinion today, Gary, I'm not sure how you feel about it, but I think today the second string quarterback is way more prepared than they ever were in the past. It seems to be like when they step in, they're performing now at higher levels, right? Where in the past, once the second string quarterback came in, it would become a disaster, right? It's getting into the pitcher, like get rid of the pitcher in the third round, the starting pitcher. It just seems like they're seeing they have an opportunity. Either they're just practicing harder, they're reading the playbooks better, they're preparing themselves to get in the game to get a chance. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Byron.
Yeah, I haven't thought about it that deeply, but I mean, I think there are a lot of teams that if they have to go to their backup quarterback, their season is pretty much over. But there's a handful of teams like San Francisco that is thriving for the most part, having gone a majority of the season so far with Mac Jones, with Brock Purdy hurt. But
Brock Purdy also was the undrafted, so he
right.
also came in as a backup, right?
Yeah, but if Josh Allen goes down, the Bills are done. I can give you a lot of examples of teams that there's a big drop off from the starter to the backup, but there are enough.
But I think the percentage is higher. That's all I'm saying. The percentage
you're probably right.
is higher with these second string quarterbacks. Look at Geno Smith. Geno Smith, is it Alex Smith? Right?
Geno Smith was the Raiders now.
No, but Geno Smith Raiders, but I forgot about him until he went to Seattle and he resurrected his career.
Oh, right. He went from the Jets to the Chargers to the Seahawks.
Seems like everybody here leaves the Jets. And then I think it's Alex Smith, isn't it? He played for Utah. He's an announcer now.
Alex Smith was the first pick in the draft.
Went to Kansas City, right?
Yeah.
Same thing. Because that was when Utah was producing all these Heisman Trophy winners, and they weren't really doing much in the NFL. Let's get to your book, Brady versus Manning, right? Is it Brady versus
The new one
Manning?
is Brady versus Belichick.
The new one's Brady versus Belichick, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here. And then you have why don't I have Brady v. Manning?
Because that one came out in 2015.
Oh, that was 2015. So Brady versus Belichick. We did talk about that a little bit. So Brady versus Manning, because I'd like to go back to, and I wish we had more time. I'm going to go get all your books, by the way. I'm an avid reader. And I suggest all our fans, please go and go to Gary Myers and go pick the book. It'll be in the link below. So click on the link below. You can get his book. So tell us a little bit about the Brady versus Manning, because one time Belichick was on the Manning cast. And, Peyton was like, oh, coach, you were the hardest guy to ever play against and this and that. And, the Manning brothers are the best. I think they're awesome. And then Peyton would just have to smile. Coach, I love playing against you.
Eli said that?
Yeah. And Belichick started laughing. He was like, "Yeah, you got me." I mean, because he's 2-0 in the Super Bowl against them, right? I mean, actually, it's just the NFC East is 3-0 against Belichick, right? Because the Philly and then the Giants.
Giants twice, yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that one, because I think that's still a relevant topic because one of Brady, obviously, right? And then you have a lot of Eli Manning, but it just seems like Eli just performed the best at that time. And tell us a little bit about that. We don't have to go long because I know it was 2015, but I would still read it.
Yeah, I mean that book was Brady versus Manning was Brady versus Peyton Manning. That's what the book.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then I
No, that's all right. Because they had what I thought was and still think is the greatest individual rivalry in NFL history. They played against each other so many times during the regular season and then so many times in the playoffs. And it was 1-1A for a very long period of time. And so I wrote about their rivalry. Now, there certainly was a lot written in that book about Eli because when the book came out, Eli had played those 2 Super Bowls against Tom. But the real history was between Peyton and Tom. And then the unknown part that the book really brought out was the very close friendship that Brady and Manning had behind the scenes that they didn't really want anybody to know about. I mean, they exchanged ideas in the off season. And there was one story where they actually trained together for a while in the off season and exchanged, kind of company secrets or personal training secrets of how they prepared. So that was a really fun book to write. I had known Tom for a lot of years up to that point, but I really got to know him well doing that book because I spent a lot of time with him. So that was a fun book to write. And I tell people the Brady Belichick book is not necessarily a sequel to the Brady Manning book, but it just seems that, Tom had these, his clear-cut rivalry with Peyton. It was nothing personal because they really do like each other.
They're competitors.
Right, exactly. But the Brady Belichick book, it did become personal towards the end there, where they just really couldn't stand the sight of each other, the last couple of years. So.
That I didn't know.
Yeah,
Byron, what are your thoughts on the Manning? And then let's go into his new book because I do want to promote the new book.
Another one of my questions. During that time, when Peyton and Tom Brady were, playing against each other, who had, like probably the better offensive weapons? I think it would be Peyton, because you figure he had, Marvin Harrison and the other guy, I can't think of his name.
Reggie Wayne, and he had Adrian James.
Reggie Wayne, that's right, Adrian James. Oh yeah, he was loaded.
Yeah, he was. And for some reason, you would think that he would get. Yeah, Dallas Clark. Yeah, he would get to a couple more Super Bowls with the offensive weapons that he had, but for some reason, somehow, Ty Law used to get him a bunch of times in the playoffs. He got him a bunch of times, and it was always a defense, with the Patriots that would step up when they did play against the Colts.
Yeah, I mean, Ty Law intercepted Peyton 3 times. It was either in the divisional round or the AFC champion. It might have been the AFC championship game one year. I think in those early years, that New England's defense was definitely superior to Indianapolis's. I also do think that the Manning years in Indy, that the Colts underachieved. And whether that was, Tom outplaying Peyton or Belichick outcoaching Dungy, it just seemed in the big games that the Patriots had the edge. Now, that did change a bit because the last 3 times that Manning played Brady in the playoffs, they were all AFC championship games. Once in Indy when Peyton went on to win his Super Bowl for the Colts, and then twice in Denver when Peyton signed with the Broncos in 2012. So the last 3 times they met in the playoffs was all in the AFC Championship game, and Peyton won all 3 of those. And he was actually 3-2 against Brady in the playoffs. But overall, I used to have these numbers, completely memorized. I guess forget now, but Tom has a significant overall edge over Peyton Manning in their head-to-head matchups. But what a great rivalry! And on a lot of lists, my list is Tom's the best and Joe Montana's second, then Peyton or Marino, probably Peyton third. But a lot of people would say it's Tom and then Peyton and then Montana. So if you look at it like it was Brady and then Peyton Manning, one and two, then what a great thing that was for NFL fans over those 15 or so years that they competed against each other, to see two of the greatest quarterbacks, go head to head so many times. Let me throw a question to you guys. How many times do you think Montana faced Dan Marino? Because for a period of time there, they were considered the two best quarterbacks in the NFL. How many times do you think they played against each other?
Only one I know was the Super Bowl.
Yeah, 3 times.
Maybe
Three times.
I knew one. That was it.
3 times, and 2 of them came in the playoffs.
And Marino lost both of them.
Actually, Marino won the second one, which turned out to be the last game of Montana's career in 1994. When they met in the Super Bowl, it was 38-16. The 49ers over the Dolphins. That game was not close. So that was just my way of saying that having Brady go against Manning so many times over 15 years was a real treat, because you had Marino and Montana, and you only had that 3 times.
Right.
And there are some opportunities now for some really great rivalries to develop. You have like Lamar against Joe Burrow. That's going to be
and Patrick Mahomes.
And Mahomes.
Yeah.
And Josh Allen. So, but I was pointing to Burrow and Lamar because they're in the same division, and if Burrow can able to stay on the field, and if Lamar can stay on the field, which he has done most of the time in his career, then you have those guys facing off, at least twice a year, and maybe again in the playoffs. The postseason rivalry between Allen, Mahomes, and Lamar has been fantastic so far.
And Burrow when he's healthy.
Yeah, Burrow. Burrow
but the AFC West. Look at the AFC West. I mean, you're talking that's some serious quarterbacks. I mean, that's why my argument would be. I mean, with the fact that Sean Payton's got the Denver coming well. I just always said that that's a difficult conference, right? You got Mahomes, you got Justin Herbert, right? And now you got Bo Nix, right? And then who's the other one? The Raiders,
Well, Gino's having a bad season, but
yeah.
Now Bo Nix is not.
But that's a difficult conference, right? You have those quarterbacks in there, and Bo Nix is not in their level yet, right? But it's still a tough conference, right? With Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert.
And you have 4 really good coaches in that division.
And the coaching is just – the 4 coaches are great.
Yeah.
They're going to be Hall of Famers, those 4 coaches.
Well, Harbaugh's got a ways to go on that because, he hasn't won a Super Bowl. Obviously, Andy Reid. Sean Payton and Pete Carroll, I think, are kind of borderline Hall of Fame coaches. But they're not done coaching yet. Sean's got a lot better chance to add some Super Bowls to his resume than Pete Carroll does, because the Raiders got a pretty long way to go.
Right. So let's go into that banner. So we got the link below where to get the book. It's Brady versus Belichick. So really towards the end of that, So how was there any dynamics in the book about where Kraft came into the scene? Because Brady and Kraft had a father-son relationship. Nothing to take away from Brady's dad, right? But even in the roast, Brady didn't like something being said about Kraft, and he stood up to the comedian and says, "Don't do that again."
Yeah, that's right.
That was unscripted, right? When Brady tells you not to do something, you just don't do it. But how's that trio of dynamics there, right? That happened when you got a quarterback and a coach that have been super successful, yet you got an owner stuck in the middle. The owner let him go at the end of the day. Kraft took the chance. Belichick, you end up releasing Belichick anyways, Why didn't you stick with Brady?
Well, that's a really good question, and here's the answer. If you remember the Eagles-Patriots Super Bowl when Malcolm Butler didn't play, and Belichick to this day has still not explained it, and that really ticked off the players and the management of the Patriots. And I mean, I tried really hard to find out what the reason was, so I could have written about that in the book. And players in the team who I really trust told me they still don't know. So after that season, Kraft basically put Belichick on probation. And in his mind, if the Patriots didn't succeed in the 2018 season, he was going to fire Belichick at the end of the year. And so what happens? They win the Super Bowl against the Rams. They hold the Rams' high-scoring offense to 3 points. And Kraft goes, well, my coach has still got it. He still knows how to push the right buttons. And so now you get to the next summer of 2019, and Brady wants a new contract. And Belichick goes to Kraft and said, listen, he's past 40 years old. We can't invest any more money in him. He's on the downside of his career. The worst thing you can do is what you need to do is let a player go a year too early than a year too late. So he convinced Kraft that Brady was just about done. They redid his contract by taking off the last year of it and agreed not to franchise him, and he became a free agent in 2020. And so then we all know what happens. Tom wins the Super Bowl. The Patriots miss the playoffs. They make the playoffs next year, but lose by 30 points to the Bills. And then they have a losing record the last 2 years, I believe. At least the last year, they were 4-13, and he fires Belichick. Kraft has since said that he basically put his money on the wrong horse.
Yep.
And if he had to do it over again, he would have stuck with Brady. Now, would he have won another Super Bowl with Brady? I'm not sure that would have happened because Belichick had let the talent level really deteriorate in New England. And so I'm not sure that Brady could have won there. And Belichick, I have him quoted in the book, he told me that Tom made the right decision leaving because the infrastructure was no longer there to win. Well, Tom made the right decision leaving because Belichick kicked him out the door. All things being equal, he wouldn't have left.
He loved New England.
Yeah, he did. And
you can't be there for 20 years, 10 Super Bowls, and not be the toast of the town.
Right. But he didn't want to. He did not want to play for Belichick any longer. So it was basically Kraft had to make a choice between the two of them, and because the defense was played out of its mind in that Super Bowl, and the offense only scored 13 points in that game, he sided with Belichick, which turned out to be
bad decision.
He regretted it.
It's a bad decision because I could tell you that if you look at all the Super Bowls, it wasn't like they were lighting it up on offense anyways, right? One thing that was great about Brady, he's either going to beat you, but he's not going to beat himself, right? He may have won Super Bowls not scoring high, right? But he also didn't beat himself, right? He didn't turn the ball over. He controlled the game. And, he didn't, like Byron said, he never had like a ton of weapons, right? He had some good players, key players. I mean, look at the guys that he did well with, Julian Edelman. Look, he's a little guy, Wes Welker. I mean, now Gronk is a little different story, right? Gronk's definitely a player. Randy Moss is a different story, but he had Randy Moss for a couple years, right? But, Deion Branch wins an MVP. I mean, he didn't really have much going on there, and they were doing a running back rotation. Byron, what are your thoughts on the gambling on horses? During the Tampa Bay years, you were really on my case about being Brady's. I'm a fan of Brady.
Yeah, because just the way you jump ship like that, you were a New England Patriots. Next year, you jump.
I never was a New England Patriot. I was a Brady fan. I never New England. I was a Patriot organization, but I wasn't big into Patriots.
I'm sorry. And then you jump ship to Tampa Bay. I thought, I think you went out and bought a jersey or whatever else you did.
No, I didn't buy no jersey.
You sure you didn't buy a jersey? I could have sworn I saw a jersey.
I wouldn't buy a jersey. I went to work into an Eagles bar with a jersey. Why would I wear a Tampa Bay?
Whatever.
You're the one who has 50 million hats. You're the trader. No, the reason why I like the story to Brady is because of, Gary, you shed more light on it. If I knew that, I would have been a bigger fan, right? I didn't like what happened to Brady, right? And then I liked that when he went to Tampa, everybody wanted to come there to play with him.
Yeah.
He got Gronk. Gronk said, "You go there, I'm coming." He had other players come. Antonio Brown is a disaster. We're staying at his pool house, right? But Antonio Brown lit it up, right?
Leonard
So,
Fournette.
huh?
Leonard
Fournette was cut. He was cut. Come on, Brady brought him over. I mean, I got get tingles in my head right now. Football's not a sport that easy. It's not like basketball. I could build a super team with 3 or 4 players, right? In football, there's no guarantee because I bring the best players. I can't put a Pro Bowl team on and think I'm going to win, right? Everything has to work together, right? It's synchronized swimming, right? Every piece has to go at the same time. So that's why I was such a fan and excited about that. Was, I'm one of those guys. I want to prove my point, right? I want to prove that I am who I am. And he did it in year 1, and he did it. He's the first quarterback to win in his own stadium. Think about all the things that was around that story. That was so. As a journalist, you should appreciate this even more than anybody else. I mean, the story itself wrote it. It was a movie.
Yeah, also remember he handpicked a pretty good team.
Who?
Tom. I mean,
of course,
the Bucs were a really good.
That was
team.
what my point was.
Yeah. Hey, if you guys want to ask me 1 or 2 Giant questions, we can do that. Otherwise, if we can.
So we're going to be wrapping this up. Brian, you got some Giant questions?
I want to see a book about Emlyn Tunnell, the Gremlin. That's a book I want to see.
Do you know it's funny? Somebody's contacted me I think they were working on a book about Emlyn Tunnell. Somebody in the Philadelphia area was, the last year or so, he's been emailing me about that. So I don't know where it is, but, in the process, but maybe there's a book coming out about him. He was obviously familiar.
Yeah, because they had a Bryn Mawr, a park over here is named after him over here.
Oh, is that right?
Outside of Philadelphia. And when people always talk about safety, Ronnie Lott and Ed Reed, and for some reason, he keeps getting forgotten. With the 79, career interceptions that he had. The thing, being the first African American inducted into the Hall of Fame and all this stuff. And a lot of people forgot, about this guy. I just want people to remember.
Yeah, but Giant fans haven't forgot about him, though. I think, the younger fans don't even know who he is, but the fans of the team, who have followed the Giants for a while and are Giant historians certainly know the impact of Emlyn Tunnell. But that would be a book I would read. I'd be interested in reading that.
And my question would be: how do you see how do you see the Giants headed now? And do you think they're positioned with the right coaching and the right GM? I'm just the opinion. I like defensive coaches for the Giants.
Well, I can say they have the right quarterback. I really,
for sure.
We've only seen him for 5 games, but I've seen enough quarterbacks over the years. This kid, has it. Whatever the it factor is, he has it. Now, the question is, does he have the right coaching, and can the general manager get enough good players around him? It's really a shame that Neighbors and Skattebo are out for the rest of the year, because I think it really impedes Dart's development. Because unless the Giants make a trade before the Tuesday deadline to get Dart a real quality receiver, he's just not surrounded by really good skill position players. And it puts more pressure on him, and his ability to make big plays is going to be, definitely impacted by that. But whether they have this right general manager and the right coach, I mean, in the best case scenario, the Giants would have a better head coach, and Brian Daboll would be the offensive coordinator, because he did a really good job with Josh Allen in Buffalo. Obviously, it can't happen that way, because you can't demote him to be the offensive coordinator. He's been the head coach for 4 years.
Right.
I just think that Daboll is a really good offensive coach, and his deficiencies are in running the entire team and certainly in his game management skills. And nowadays, you need your head coach to be elite when it comes to game management, and he is not elite, and it's his 4th year already. So the fact that he hasn't reached that level, it's just not going to happen. And as far as the general manager is concerned, he's had some good draft picks, but he's missed on some really high picks. I mean, Evan Neal, 7th pick in the draft.
That's Byron's.
Jalen Hyatt, a 3rd-round pick who we moved up to get, hasn't worked out.
Thibodeau?
Thibodeau's okay.
But he's okay.
He's not
a 5th-round pick.
He's not like a force like JPP was. But
yeah, I love JPP.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me a little bit of like Kiwanuka.
Wow.
That kind of player. He's not Justin Tuck. He's not JPP, but I would say he's kind of on the level of Kiwanuka. A really solid player. Abdul Carter has only got a half a sack. Do we judge him just on the half a sack or the fact that he's making some other impact plays? But the Giants have a huge decision to make after the season on the coach and the GM. And I don't think you can decide to keep the coach just because he has a good relationship with the quarterback if you think that he's not a great head coach. Because believe me, I really think the presence of Jackson Dart makes the Giants' job, if they fire Daboll, a very, very attractive job to all the top candidates. It couldn't make we don't know who else is getting fired or whatever, but I think it makes the Giants probably the leader in the clubhouse in my mind on having the most attractive job because you're going to a place that has a quarterback in place. And usually when a new coach comes in, the reason the old coach got fired is because they don't have a quarterback, which is the reason they're losing games. That won't be the case here. And Tennessee's obviously going to be looking for a new coach, and Cam Ward will be an attractive selling point for any coach. But, maybe I'm completely biased because I've lived in New York almost my entire life. But if you have a choice of going to the Giants or the Titans, I mean, to me, that's really kind of a no-brainer.
It's no doubt.
I mean, there's less pressure in Tennessee, but, I'd rather take my shot at winning a Super Bowl in New York than a place like Tennessee. And they fire coaches a lot in Tennessee also.
Look at how good Vrabel's doing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's instantly turning around. That was
he
a bad
did
decision.
Well in Tennessee. He had a couple.
He did really well, and he did really well in Tennessee, and they turned around. And I'll leave you with this: like Michael Strahan said, look, if you got a chance to play and win in New York, he goes, all the opportunities he has now post his career is because he was a New York Giant.
That's right.
Right? I mean, you're in New York. You make it in New York now. Your ticket is written across the board. Well, Gary, we really appreciate you coming on the Jersey Boy Sports Tag. Please, he got his book. We have the link to Amazon, Brady versus Belichick book. Plus, he's got 6-7 other books that I want to go get because I want to talk about the catch. I mean, anything about the Giants. We don't have enough time. I mean, we could have been here for a long time. So I do appreciate you giving us our time. We'd love to have you back on our show. Give me a chance to, I got to read some of the books beforehand because,
you'll love the Once a Giants book.
Once a Giant. I'll go to Once a Giant. You tell me what I need first, and I'll have it ready.
You'll read that. It's about the '86 Super Bowl team, and
that's my favorite.
And their life after football, and the impact of playing, such a violent, physical sport. The impact that's had on their lives now that they're in their 50s and 60s.
Yeah, trust me, I could feel it. I didn't play that either. Well, Gary, thank you so much for coming on our show. Byron, you have anything to say?
Again, thank you very much for coming on our show. It was great. And you're always welcome to come back.
My pleasure, guys.
Welcome to come back. And just remember, we can't go to Patriot Lounge if you're wearing an opposing team shirt because I got kicked out.
Okay. All right. You take care, guys.
All right, guy. God bless. Thank you.
All right.
Bye. Byron, hold on. I'm get you out here. There you go. That was pretty good, no?
Yeah, man. Yeah, that was really nice.
That was nice. That was interesting. We didn't get a chance. We talked Giants, but we talked about that. But it was he was very soft spoken, and he knew his stuff. Pretty interesting information between Brady and Belichick. Right? I knew there was a problem there, but he made a bad move.
I had this one about Brady, Belichick and Brady by another guy.
Oh, really?
So I guess I'm gonna go run out and go get his.
Go get. You got to get Gary. Gary came on the show. That guy didn't come on the show. So if anybody out there listening gives it a show. All right, let's get to the real deal here. Let's get some. We got to spend a little bit of extra time, even though I'm not feeling too well. So one, I want to talk about me getting kicked out. Ryan, Byron, if I tell you the things that are coming in, that it was funny. I mean, some of them are mean, but look, I take it with a grain of salt, right? It is what it is. But people are telling me I should have known better. Byron, I wouldn't have thought that. You even made the comment. I can't believe this is happening. Now they were really nice. The manager, the lady, the people at the Parrot Lounge, the management were super nice about it. But then they said to me, I want to ask you a question. Oh, you can go over there and buy a shirt. You just can't come in with the shirt. I'm like, okay, Byron, if I'm a Giant fan, whether I'm wearing a shirt or not, wouldn't I be yelling if something was going on really good for the Giants? It's not going to quiet me down. The shirt doesn't make the fan. The heart makes the fan, right? How many fair weather fans have you seen, right? That they go buy Detroit Lions stuff.
Oh, my sister.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Why do you think I brought that up?
She got a whole supply today.
She's going to kill me. She's going to kill me. Exactly. Okay. Does that make her like go in and going to go totally all gung-ho? No, your heart is where, just because you're wearing a jersey doesn't mean. You know how many people I see? I saw this guy in my building, and the Yankees were playing the playoffs, even though they got kicked out. And they got knocked out. I'm like, all right, Yankees. And the guy was like from another country. He had no idea what I was talking about. He didn't even know the game was on. But he was wearing a Yankee hat. That don't make him a Yankee fan. So it was interesting. I will obviously never go back there because just I didn't like that, Byron. I don't know if I'm being petty or not, but I didn't like it. You know what I mean? I wanted to enjoy the game with the opposing team. I wasn't going there to fight. Or I wasn't going there to think. You know how I feel about Saquon. So it was just an interesting. It's one of those things you never thought you would experience, and you experienced, right? So it is what it is.
You figure not your younger days per se, but other people's younger days, they would go, go root for their team or whatever. And yeah, some of those people that go in there looking for a fight. Okay, when you get to be 50, 40, 50, 60 years old, you're not going to any place to get a fight. I can go over where I live. I can go over to the Eagle Bar right over here, wear Giant stuff. They're going to talk smack to me and whatever, and, be done with it. But as far as me going, I'm not looking to fight nobody. And if you want to go fight somebody, that's what I'm here. My cell phone, 911. Hey, come get him. I ain't sitting there fighting. It's a game, man. Taking it so serious. Jeez.
No, and the thing is, for me, it's the NFC East. I find NFC East fans are intelligent about the game. I wanted to interview them for our show. I want to say, hey, what's going on? What do you think is happening? Why does AJ Brown want? Why do you always have problems in the locker room? And people have different opinions. They think it's Nick Sirianni. They think it's Jalen Hurts. They think it's, whatever it is. I'm just looking for information. You know what I mean? That's all I was going there for. But anyhow, let's move past that because I don't need that. People thinking I'm dwelling on that. It was just so. Now I'm promoting the other place. You want to go to a good place? Go to McSorley's right there in Fort Lauderdale on the beach. The food is good. The staff, the wait staff, everybody there was friendly. They had multiple TVs. The food is fine. And Byron, I'm telling you, it's beautiful. Well, hopefully one of these days you come down. It's 3 levels. The 3rd level is open space. I could smoke my cigar, and I could literally across the street from the beach. I'm like looking at waves because it was one of those rainy days. It was beautiful. So I would rather have gone there. Right? I was trying to go there because I just wanted to enjoy the game with Philly fans. I'm from Jersey, right? It's closest I'm going to get to Philly. From here. But, man, let me ask you a question. He said it right. Don't you agree with Gary said it? He goes, this guy's 4th year and his management of the game is still very poor. Yeah, that's why he's got to go, bro. He made it better. He made a better argument than I have. And he said it. We lost that game. That was our clock management, right? At the end of the day, the guy doesn't get. Now, look, it's like Spags. Spags is a great defensive coordinator. It's just not a good head
Yeah,
coach.
yeah, but with the Giants situation, if Dable got to go, they both got to go together because, like Gary
I
said,
want Shane out. There's no
yeah,
confusion. I want Shane
like,
out.
like Gary said, they've missed on high picks, a lot of them, like a lot more than you really realize. And when you miss on the 7th player pick in the draft, Evan Neal, and he's a healthy scratch every game. He's 6'7", 335 pounds, standing on the sidelines, and he hasn't had a Giant game uniform on all season. 8 games, 8.
I love that he brought that up because that is like you've brought that up for the last how long he's been before he's been picked 7 years.
Long,
Oh
long
man,
time.
and I'm like, man, he couldn't have picked a better player because Byron talks about him all the time. And then Skattebo going now, man. Why are we throwing the ball to this guy? Like he's been running. Why throw the ball
He's a good
again,
pass catcher.
dude? He's little though, and you're throwing it to
Okay,
him in the
well,
middle. It's a freak accident. Don't get me wrong. I guess my dislike for Dable as a head
did,
coach bothers me so
did you
much. Did you see the
did you?
cat? I mean, the throw,
Oh
bro,
no,
was a little
no,
shitty throw. It was in the
yeah,
middle.
but
Why throw to that
did,
guy?
it
Wasn't
wasn't the
even
point that
open.
it wasn't even the point that throw. The tackle is what got him. Did you see the way he tackled him? The hip drop. He did it, and dropped down on his ankle, and that's what happens. That's why they don't want these guys to tackle like that. That's supposed to be a 15-yard
I haven't
penalty.
really looked at it that way. I know I've heard them talking about, right? What should I look? The hip what?
Hip drop. It's a legal tackle, man. Even at the level that I'm at, with the 10U, they call that. As far as the kid grabbing somebody by the back, back of their collar, and trying to tackle it. That's a 15-yard penalty at my level. And
Well,
then
you know what that guy.
Huh? No,
You
the
know what
thing
that
that
guy did? He got fined, right? And he said that I'm trying to look
Braun, Zach Braun, is that his name? Braun or something? Yeah. Can't hear you.
So what are you talking about? What I see is that he just dragged him down with his body. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Got him.
because he was behind him and he drops his weight down on his legs.
Oh
Right?
yeah. So he like sat down.
Yeah, like sat down like on his legs. And when I saw it, I was in the lounge when we were in Atlantic City, and when I saw his foot, I'm looking at it because it had a big giant screen. I'm looking, and I could see his foot was pointed toward me. I was like, "Whoa! It should be pointed that way." I was like, that hurt looking at it, and it looked like he tried to get up. Then he put his hand up. Then he looked down at it, and then everybody's waving. But that was bad. I'm glad they didn't show that again because that was a bad injury.
What was the Eagle player who did it?
I think Zach Braun, the linebacker.
Yeah, he got penalized, right? And he said he said that he should
No, he didn't get penalty. He got
fined.
Yeah.
And he wants that money to go to Skattebo. He asked the NFL, give that money to Skattebo. I'll pay the fine willingly. Give that money to Skattebo. He felt bad. Then I heard Big Dom went to the hospital, brought Philly cheesesteaks and stuff. I heard that guy went to the hospital also. You know what I mean? Like that was my whole point. Look what the Philly team does for a Giant fan, and you don't allow a guy like me into your bar. I mean, it's ridiculous, right?
Because you look dangerous. That's why.
How do I look dangerous? Look at me. I got gray hair, bro. Come on now.
Yeah,
What was I doing? I had stitches. I had shorts on, bro. My stitches are still there.
They probably didn't know. They weren't looking at that. They just look at they're looking at you, man. You look scary.
They said any opposing team they don't allow it, right? So it wasn't just a Giant thing, but anyways, with Skattebo being hurt, and I mean, we just picked up a receiver though.
We did.
Yeah.
What, Ray McLeod or whatever his name is?
Yeah.
Yeah, and supposedly they Juwan Jennings, keep that name in the back of your head, receiver with the 49ers, is on the radar.
Juwan Jennings?
Yeah, Juwan, something like that. Yeah.
What position?
Jennings. wide receiver.
They're saying there may be a trade for Kayvon Thibodeau.
They ain't trading him.
Yeah. Here it is. Jauan Jennings. Hold on a second.
Yeah. If you trade Thibodeau,
Giants
you got to get at least
trade for 49ers wide receiver Jauan Jennings.
Well, put it this way: we play him Sunday, so we'll know how he is.
Did they trade for him? They got him already?
Nah, they play him Sunday.
Oh yeah, that's right. All right.
So we'll see.
Let's do a quick hear from our sponsor. Let's go to immediate asset. Our sponsor, Venture Global. Now, let me get to it if I can find it. Here we go.
Borders? Optional. Complexity? Handled. Growth? Endless. The future of work is global. Introducing Venture Global, your all-in-one solution to find, hire, and pay talent around the world. Finding you the talent you need in the countries you're expanding into. Managing your employees across the globe, from contractors to EOR, all compliantly. And paying them on time in their currency with ease through a global HRIS platform. With Venture Global, we make international expansion feel local. Venture Global, built for borderless business.
Oh, sorry, Miss Sonia Jones. She's like, this is your sister.
That's dirty, really?
Look, go Lions. Jump off that sinking ship. Don't hate. No, we have to be careful what we say. She's listening. Bro, I guess you sleep in your Sioux jersey? Your Sioux jersey?
I got a Sioux jersey.
Donovan Sioux? Oh.
Yeah, I got a jersey.
That's dirty. Sorry, Sonya. You know we love you, but you did jump ship on us. You did jump ship.
Hey, immediately.
Man, and look, she has a lot of Giant stuff. I seen her.
Got even more. And she got a ton of Iron stuff.
Nah, but that's recent. Like her Giant stuff was over years. That's funny. Hey, look, the only thing I feel we have going for us, Byron, is the fact that I look forward to watching the Giants play Sunday now. Win, lose, or draw. I just want to see Jackson. I just don't want to see him to get hurt. This kid is way better than I was expecting. Way better. He's got the moxie. He gets away from the ball. He just needs a coach that can help him manage the clock and do some stuff, right? But again, we can't get a break. You know what I wanted to ask Gary, but he was running out of time, was why don't you write a book on the MetLife field? The millions of dollars that are costing the NFL, both on opposing and on Jets and Giants teams. Right? That's got to be a problem. Yeah, that's what I meant. Opposing and Giants and Jets teams. That's a lot of money. But I'm excited to watch the Giants now, right? I like watching Jackson Dart. This kid is something else, man. And he's got no weapons around. You think Skattebo will be ready for next season?
Yeah, they say it's like a 6-month, rehab or whatever you want to call it. This is what I'm happy about with the Giants. What I watch now, and I see a competent offensive line. They look like an offensive line. Yeah, they look a lot better. And
what do you think happened, though? You think it's because of the quarterback? Because they were terrible when Russell Wilson was in there.
Between him getting the ball out of his hands, when Skattebo was there, being able to run the ball, and then the big piece is that Andrew Thomas came back. And for some reason, it seems like when he's there, he raises the level of everybody along that offensive line. They're playing a lot better on the offensive line. The only thing I'm disappointed in is Sexy Dexy on the other side. It's like he's not even. They never talk. Carl Banks like blasted him today or yesterday.
Really?
He blasted him. He's like pretty much, big dude, where you at? He has no sacks. I think he has like maybe one sack, and besides that, nothing.
Hey, your buddy Brian Burns is lighting it up though.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't stop him. Like literally, either they're worried about Abdul Carter and it's freeing him up, but I'd be worried about Brian Burns. I'm hoping so because I want to see Abdul Carter do well. You know what I mean? I'd like to see that pick do well, but he's in there most of the time.
Well, he's leading in pressures. He leads the NFL in pressures. He's just not. They're not equating to sacks. He has like a half a sack, but as far as putting pressure, he's close. He's close.
Yep. Yep. So I mean, look, we'll see what happens, but at least we're back to an exciting watch. Even remember, we even said it. We just want to see competitive football, right?
That's it.
And watching Dart play, and look, Tracy's running hard. He's like Skattebo, like bled off of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tracy's running hard. So, we'll see what happens. The season is what the season is. Sad part is, Byron, we should have 2 more wins than we have. But we're 2-5, right? We should be 4-3.
Yeah.
And in the mix.
Yep.
In the mix. 4-3 in the mix. Obviously, with the assumption that Skattebo didn't get hurt. But at the end of the day, man, that dynamic between those two was so awesome. It was just terrible. Terrible. So you really think that he got hurt was mostly because of the way he was tackled?
Yep.
Because he got pulled down and his leg went back.
Yeah. Well, but the weight of the guys behind him fell on the back of his legs.
That's terrible. That's terrible. Well, we got some things. We got some of the things. Well, we got the Dolphins. Lamar Jackson's back. I was going to go to that game today, but thank God I didn't go. Dude, I can't believe I went to bed early. I got out. I was all excited to have all this energy, and I woke up like this. Man, I got so much work to do.
That means go to bed early tonight.
I'm going to bed right after this. So, all right, my brother, thank you for everything. I thought this was a good show. It was great having that guy on. Hopefully Gary comes back. We'll pick up his book. And if you're looking for his book, look down there. Don't forget, every Thursday live on YouTube, the Jersey Boys Sports Talk, 8 p.m. And we'll be talking next week. Get some more information, Giant updates, see what's happening around the league. And let's see what happens with A.J. Brown, if he gets traded or not. That's going to be a crazy move if he gets traded.
Yeah, well, we'll see Tuesday, 4:00.
Let's go. All right, brother. You have a good night, and we will talk soon. Hold on. Let me see if I'm at end stream. Okay, buddy. Talk to you later.
All right. See you.
Peace.